Hey folks, nice to see you today. My name is Dustin Cormier and welcome to How to Rock Astrology. Today we are going to be rapping about what it's like when a person has the Sun in Cancer and Mars in Capricorn. Very excited to be talking with you about this today. This is a good strong combination. One of the best combinations, obviously. This is a very particularly powerful one because Mars is it's exalted in Capricorn. Of course, if you want to hear more about what that means, you can check out the start of the series where I did my Mars and Capricorn video to see, what does being exalted do for Mars? How does it work? Essentially, you'll find in that video that the yin restraining nature of Capricorn is very good for Mars, and it restrains the outgoing, impulsive nature of Mars. Mars is an outgoing, impulsive nature, but it ultimately wants to be reined in the right way. So its vitality is still there, but it's being properly channeled towards purposeful, constructive channels that still have a grip, are not just mental. Mars does terrible in Mercury-ruled signs, but it does well. It's exalted particularly in Saturn, because Saturn's not just rational and reasonable, but it's also forceful, calm, like primal. It's a primal lizard brain in Saturn that activates rational reason while still being primal. So that's why Mars does best in Capricorn, and that's what this exalted Mars brings out, his ability to restrain the animal impulse in a constructive channel. Now, this combination in particular, so we have Mars exalted here in Capricorn. Now, of all the Mars and Capricorn combinations, the Sun being in Cancer is a particularly powerful king to have for Mars to be in Capricorn. Mars is, of course, the general, the right arm, the right-hand man of the king, of the ambitions of the soul, of the solar desires of the Sun. So we all have desires and ego that we seek to project constantly and to embody, an ego that we work through, and that is our Sun. And that ego needs certain things in order to keep itself alive, in order to keep itself lively, and to be pushing as a contributor in the energy field of the world. And Mars is the right-hand man that needs to act what it does in order to bring out the best of the energy field, in order to constrain the energy field, to put our resources in the right places so that energy comes back to us, so that everything flows, so that the ambitions of the Sun can be continued through rational, logical reason. Now, that's what Mars does in a chart, is it grips things for the Sun. And usually, things work best when the Sun and the soldiers, the general, the army, work along the same path, along the same way lines. Now, many of you are probably going to think that I'm going to say now that these are opposites, which means that they don't work along the same way lines. But that's not true. The real fact here is that in the same way that, people like going north past the equator are delving with snow, and it's a different direction. It's an opposite direction from south. But if you get closer north to the North Pole, you're dealing with snow and the cold, and the atmosphere and environment changes because it's getting colder. So when you go to the southern hemisphere, you get to the South Pole, it's the same thing. You're going into the cold once you get way down south into the coldest parts of the South Pole. It's in an opposite direction, but you're facing the same things, the same embodied energy structure. So the Sun and Mars being opposites here, they're in different directions, but yet they compensate for each other in a very powerful way. And they actually have a similarity of nature here. Being both in active, willful, organizing, feeling cardinal signs. Cardinal signs initiate, are just bound to just go right forward with changing and adapting the world to fit what they want to do. And they also fit themselves to the world. So this is a two-way compatibility here with this Mars and Sun, and it is ultimately it's a good thing. Now, I like to teach a little bit of astrology theory in these videos. I'm a tropical Vedic astrologer, and I'm always trying to bring in what does the West have to say that the Vedic people should hear, and what do Vedic people have to say that the Westerners should hear. Now, I'm a tropical astrologer. It's a Western reading, so I don't go back a sign like the sidereal Vedic people. I'm a tropical astrologer. I use the same dates and measurements as Western astrology. I just know Vedic philosophy, and I like to sprinkle it in once in a while in these readings. Now, Western astrology, I'm actually more of a Vedic astrologer than anything. And in Western astrology, in the West, we consider that any opposite aspect is bad. It's tense. There's tension that's bound to go in a bad way because of that tension. It means that there's energy opening and expanding, and apparently that's always considered bad in the West. And it shows that there might be trouble between the Sun and Mars. But in Vedic astrology, the opening up of that energy is opportune energy that can be used constructively if the planets involved in the aspect are healthy. Here, they're naturally very healthy, A, because Mars is in Capricorn. B, the Sun actually is very strong in Cancer. It gains Ayana Bala strength. It's another Vedic thing. The Sun, if you consider how the Sun is at its hottest in summer solstice. That's what Cancer represents. It's this new solstice that's moving towards autumn. The summer solstice is the height of the Sun's energy. Winter solstice, Capricorn, is the lowest vital, energized energy of the Sun. That's why Mars does better in Capricorn, because Capricorn represents dense, low, detached energy, but still has energy dense down there, at least for Mars. Not so much the Sun. The Sun doesn't do as well as in Capricorn. The Sun has much energy in Cancer, lots of animal energy. Now, regardless of the signs of these planets, the aspect of the Sun opposite Mars is actually a good thing. So what I'm trying to get Westerners to think about is that the nature of any aspect depends on whether the two planets in aspect are friendly and harmonious to each other. Here, there's an aspect going on here. The Sun and Mars are having tense energy being opened up through each other by looking at each other, by being in each other's sight. Mars is always bound to be bringing out some kind of energy from the Sun here in this particular combination. And it's a good thing because they're friends. This is a Vedic secret that I'm trying to kind of convey here. What does it mean that the Sun and Mars are friends? Well, have you ever considered that, for example, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn all rule the Earth and air signs, right? Gemini and Virgo, air and earth. Mercury, right? Venus rules Libra and Taurus, air and earth. Saturn rules Aquarius and Capricorn, air and earth. Anciently, Saturn ruled Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, those three planets are best friends in the earth and air signs. The fire and water signs are ruled by Jupiter, Mars, Sun, and Moon, right? Aries and Scorpio are ruled by Mars, fire and water. Sagittarius and Pisces anciently ruled by Jupiter. That's fire and water. The Sun, Leo, is fire, and then Cancer, water. So the Sun is doing well in Cancer by that regard, in general. But in this particular sense, the Sun being opposite Mars, these two are interacting with each other, but they are friends. They both rule fire signs. They bring out an impulse in each other that naturally brings out the best in each other, regardless of the signs. They don't hurt each other. Although there's tension, Mars brings out a certain tension out of the sun here, but it does it in the right way. Mars encourages the sun like a best friend would. This goes to say that the Mars in Capricorn here, with its toughness, with its detachment, Mars here is at its best, being at arm's length from its ambition and its sexuality. Anything that it gets excited about, it's excited at an arm's length. And it can see and it uses rational reason to remain in the animal juiciness, but it's always a step back. Sexually and everything. When you're having a conversation with this person, they can be cool. They're not just blah, it's excited to just be all sentimental and it's, the Cancer sun. I just want to be this cute little thing that you just wrap up in your arms and just is your absolute little soft savior for the rest of your life. And, just by being with each other, we will be so in love that I don't actually have to do anything for you. Cancer is not necessarily like that, but Cancer gets very familiar. They get emotional, and the emotional tone of Cancer sun can be too much. This is the Mars being opposite the sun, it reduces that. The Mars here cuts and refines the sun's energy, so it's being put to it's a glorious, ambitious effect. Now this is actually a Cancer who can still cry, who could still get emotional, who can watch a movie and just let it out, and if the movie affects them that deeply, because Mars is not damaging the emotional capacity of this person. That's more like Mars in Cancer. That's a person who's like, I'm afraid to be emotional. Mars in Capricorn knows exactly what emotions are and knows how to guide them towards an inspired and passionate purpose that is still channeled properly, rationally, logically, but doesn't lose the essential animal, liquidy, fluid juiciness that Mars is at its best. So this is a Cancer who can apply their sentiment, can still show very diligently and discernedly that I have this deep animal lust for you, my love. But all of that animal lust and all of these things, the Mars being opposite to the sun is going to push it through Mars in Capricorn to be reserved, refined, and take one step back so that you don't just ejaculate with or come in your pants every time your lover comes along wearing that perfect dress that you think is just the cutest thing, like which Sun in Cancer can do. It just gets so excited that it just like the excitement is over the top, and it's all excitement, and it would just be prettier. It would be like it's like pruning a tree. Cancer is well pruned with Mars and Capricorn. It's the best way to put it. So that the Mars is very sensible, detached, unemotional about the things that it needs to be unemotional about. Sex including. Cancer can be so wet and just blah, just you're going to love me no matter what because I'm so loving and I'm so secure and familiar. We're so familiar with each other that I know you're going to love me no matter what because of the things that I've chosen to find that we love each other for. Cancer looks for familiarity, a shared sense of soul and adaptability. But even, when Cancer finds all of this, it's easy to become familiar, and it's easy for Cancer to pour their love into other ways. This is a Cancer which has all of that, and I know that you love me for what I am, and since you do, I'm going to reward you with a little treat. And I've got just the treat that I know you are going to like and be enticed by. There's a magnetism that draws out the dog in this person. You know how they say dogs are too easy? Dogs are just, oh, I love you, give me some love. Cancer people are a lot like dogs in a certain way, whereas Capricorn is more like cats, getting that high ground, jumping on shelves and stuff like that. Cancer is just a dog, and you gotta love them. People who love dogs because their loyalty is pure in the certain way that Sun in Cancer is. Cancer is a good place for the Sun, although it's midway between its exaltation and its debilitation. It's not as close to Aries as it would like to be, But Cancer is a strong, good, affectionate place for the sun that gives energy, and it wants to lean hard on loving familiar people, because it's working through the moon. Its glory and its energy is deeply fastened to familiar, loving feelings of domestic bliss. And so this is a dog who's going to love you no matter what and is loyal in the beautiful way that Sun in Cancer is. But there's a cat in this person too. So the Mars in Capricorn is like, you know how cats are. They're kind of hard to get. And it's kind of like, I'll give you my attention when I deem it. And I'll get, and you know, it's like, who loves kitty? Huh? Who loves kitty? It's like there's an attitude and a drawn backness that's not just too easy. And it's this magnetism, it's this allure that is in you as a person with this combination. You have that allure that you don't give it up right away. But when you do give it up, you give it up wholesale, because that's the Sun in Cancer. It's like, honestly, darling, I love you. I love you. I love you so much, and I'll never leave you. And it's that the Cancer, just like nobility, is still so deeply there. But on top of that, since I know you're in my hand, since I know you've taken me to be your lover, I guess that means that I'm going to use my best discretion and abilities to show you the best time that I can, while still being, like, you know, Mars is such a good place in Capricorn. It goes for its ambitions. It doesn't let the need for sex and sentiment ruin its material capability of being hard, discerning, and detached in business. And they will go for the ambitions that they need to do to get the wealth that even Cancer is known for being able to get. There's a discipline and a discernment that goes for all these things, but they won't do what Cancers sometimes do. Cancers are often either too sentimental or too hard driven to get material security for the sake of my family. They're usually one or the other. This is a Mars who's this is a Cancer whose Mars in Capricorn becomes diligent down to the bones of its experience, so that it can know, I've been working too hard, and rationally I know my lover needs a certain amount of love, and I need to express and experience that love, because that's what charges me and it fuels me. It's the Sun being opposite Mars and Mars being opposite the Sun. There's a need to live with the fullness of vital energy and enjoyment and surrender and passion. There's a need to live with passion. So this is a person who will say, I need to be dry and calm and impassionate in my business and to use that, but I need to also include passion somewhere, somewhen, or else I'm not doing my job as Mars in Capricorn. So Mars in Capricorn is the best place for Mars. Mars is an animal energy. So Capricorn says, I can't ignore this animal energy. I got to use it somewhere. But you got to use it with discernment and discipline. And they apply that discernment and discipline so that they deeply, richly love their lover in their domestic sphere. And then they go out and do all the other things. And they are fully there, zeroed in like a laser on it, and enjoy it, and then come back to it. And then come back to the lovingness that the Cancer implies. Now, this does go to say that, like, you know, the Sun can lose a bit of its ambitiousness. It can lose its deeper sense of power that, like, you know, an Aries, Sun and Aries person might employ. But this is still a pretty good place for the Sun. Sun in Cancer is definitely not one of the worst places for the Sun, because it has vitality, strength, and it can live by good morals, especially if the Moon is well placed. Check for the Moon to see if this person's discerning Mars and Capricorn energy is going towards fulfilling places or not. But ultimately, we can see how this would translate in a lover as somebody who would have a rich inner experience and enjoyment and a deep feeling of sentiment, and even the kinkiness, the wildness of Cancer. Cancer can be wet. Cancer can just be just an ocean of, like, raw emotion and theatrical drama and wanting to get a thing out. That's like part of Cancer's thing, is that, you know, it's like whatever's going on throughout the day that's been like tension building up in whatever ways. If you're a submissive person with this, then You might be a person who's like, making the coffee, and then you make your lover your coffee, and you do these subby little things and just find different ways of just like, the husband gets home and it's, darling, I've been missing you so, so much, and I've just been dying to get close to you. And to have all that subbiness kind of laid in throughout the day in a way that brings it out in the sexual experience when you're meticulous and controlled and refined, and like that animal nature is there behind you, but Mars and Capricorn reels it in so that it's secretly psychically there, and a person can enjoy the best of it while still enjoying the embrace of an artful lover. Just about, not necessarily everyone, but so many people who have Mars and Capricorn can be made into real ideal tantric styles of lovers, and really graceful, artful lovers for love-making's own sake, sexual people for sex's own sake. Now, you as a Cancer probably would apply this sexual ability best within the sentimental grounds of a real life partner. You basically know that you're a good lover, a capable lover with a good grip on what it is to just, how to suck a dick properly if you're a woman, or if you're whatever sexuality you tend to employ. You learn the technique of sucking a dick in the best way, or like, rubbing this nipple or kissing in the best way possible. And you might even just play around as a bit of a slutty sort of like trying out different people and just learning with these different people how to grip Mars, how to grip your own energy within these many different ways. Probably not, though. Cancer is not, like, they can be slutty for this, like, they're very sexual. Not necessarily pouring themselves out sluttily to all sorts of different people, but it's this thing of like, I'm a slut only in your bed. And when I'm in your bed, I'm the sluttiest slut around. But for everybody else, I'm not as much. That's how Cancer tends to roll, right? That sexual ardor is there, and it can be applied rigorously with that Mars and Capricorn. So that was my whole spiel about this particular combination. Before we end today, I just want to show you guys a little reading of Erotic Astrology by Phyllis Vega, filling in the gaps here, talking about a more interpersonal expression of how this combination would play out behaviorally and sexually, interpersonally. So this is a reading of the psychoerotic chemistry of Sun in Cancer with Mars in Capricorn. Those with this combination believe that sex should be part of a lifestyle that includes all the elements of a committed relationship. Sex should be part of a lifestyle that includes all the elements of a committed relationship. So committed relationship is really the deeper impetus here, but sex really ought to be a constantly employed, juicy part of the whole thing. Although you can commonly be a workaholic, Cancer is like that, and then the Mars in Capricorn, again, can bring that out even more dryly and truly, especially in men. But while you're commonly a workaholic, your well-defined domestic side craves the comfort and security of home and family. At times, your heavy sexual nature seems out of balance with the rest of your life, and it's prone to contradictions and inconsistencies. I think that's because the Sun is considered as opposite Mars here, and the Western sphere would consider that as a negative opposition. I wouldn't take that too seriously. I think that you have a sexual nature I think that this goes to say that you're wild, fascinating Sun in Cancer, just so burning hot in that summer solstice astral karma that you're just like burning through. But if any Cancer Sun has a proper way to use that energy, it's someone with Mars and Capricorn. Not only because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, but Mars is opposite that Sun and enlivens it to conscript it to noble uses of that wild Cancer Sun energy. So, once you find the love and acceptance you seek in a lover and in whatever you're dealing with in life, you make a passionate, responsive lover, as well as a caring and dependable and reliable life partner, which is really the bigger picture for this person. This person's sexuality is this fat, thick, juicy nectar that they can move around to resolve and increase tension and relieve tension and make a pretty blanket, a wonderful warm blanket for the love of this person's life, whoever that might be, whether it's children, whether it's a lover, whether it's friends, a social sphere, a place at work which they're dedicated to. This person will use their funniness, their juiciness in pointed ways, sentimental ways, but will still be a useful, dependable, loving, caring life partner on top of whatever vibes that they put out there. And that'll be a big part of their inspiration for being in a relationship. So that turned out to be a long one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. My name's Dustin Cormier, and this is How to Rock Astrology. I hope you guys dug that, like I said. So let me know in the comments. Feel free to ask a question, make a comment, and I'd love to just speak to it if I can. And if you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like, and if my whole thing here was part of your thing and you kind of enjoy me just shooting the shit like this, feel free to subscribe, because I've got lots more stuff coming out in the future, including another series on Mars and Moon and Venus placements. What does the placement of the Moon and Venus in your chart say about your romance and sexual ability? So more fun stuff to come, folks. For now, as I said, I'm Dustin Cormier. I hope you guys dug this, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching.